My maths teacher really bugs me. I walk in the room and she just starts having a go. She really annoys me, so I let her have it. Sure, I stand up for myself, which upsets her, but that's her problem.
As you listen to this person speak, I'm guessing that you can probably make some very reasonable and probably very accurate assumptions about how he is feeling. You can probably work out that he is feeling upset or angry or annoyed at the behaviour of his maths teacher. So my question is, do you actually understand what this young person is saying? Do you understand what they mean? And my assumption for your correct answer here should be that no, you don't. You actually don't know what this young person has experienced. If you look back through what they say, if you look back through the language they used, you'll find that what they are doing under the meta model is they are using unspecified verbs. Now, those of you who love English, love language, studied language, you may be quite confident and quite comfortable with this idea of verbs, but verbs are simply doing words. They are the words that describe what a person does. And what you will notice is in the example that you have just heard, the verbs are all left completely vague. Have a go at, annoy me. These are words that actually don't mean anything. Stand up for myself. They just have no content to them. So if I asked you to take that speech away and to get actors and make a movie of what had just happened, you would find that it was impossible. You just could not make a movie out of that example because you simply don't know what the maths teacher did and you don't know what the young person did. That's completely left out. And there are lots of these verbs that get used, work verbs like scare, to annoy, to upset, to bother, to wind up, to frustrate, and actually, yeah, they carry some kind of emotional meaning. But when you think about it, what is left out from this is what you'd call a deletion. What is deleted is any actual detail of the doing, the what was being done, and the how it was being done. So as you are listening to people talk, you can be actively listening out for these unspecified verbs. These verbs that sound like they are giving a description of what the person is doing, but in actual fact give nothing. They tell you absolutely nothing about what the person has done. Okay, so how would you deal with this? Let's just move on and say how would you deal with it? And this is quite simply, you just ask for, so what do they do exactly? So specifically, how does your teacher wind you up specifically? What is it that your teacher does that you find so annoying? How do you stand up for yourself? When you stand up for yourself, what do you do? These are all questions that essentially ask the person to provide you with the missing parts of their experience. So, you don't do this in a way that's an interrogation. You're not sort of drilling the person and shining a light in their eyes and saying, tell me. But you're going to be aware of the fact that some of these verbs actually mean nothing. And they are really kind of important to get these verbs right. But we actually ask the person to specify exactly what they mean. Right, so let me give you a second example here and see how this one compares to the first in terms of what you're being told, and just see what you notice.
People keep telling me what I've done wrong. They just say, yes, but you have to remember what you did last week. No one seems interested in what I think. Everyone is just looking for me to mess up. I wish they'd just leave me alone.
So in this example, we have a much clearer idea of what the person is doing or what is being done to this person. We've actually given some quite specific details about words that are being said to this young person. So in that respect, the verbs, the doing words, are much more clearly defined than they are in the first example. But the question I'd have for you is, do you know who is doing these things to the young person? Who specifically? So here it's not the verbs that are not being specified, it's the nouns. It's the naming words. It's the things and the people that are being left out of the equation. So that is the bit that is being deleted in this example, is not the verbs, so we actually know what the people are doing, we just don't know who is doing it. We have no idea who these people are. And what you'll find is that in communication we often talk about they, or people, or everyone, or nobody, and all of these words are, again, essentially content free. They may tell you quite a lot about how the person is feeling, and in terms of empathy and rapport, they can be really helpful. But if you actually want to know the details of what this person is experiencing, then really these are not giving you the information you need. So again, what would you need to ask in order to get this information? And it's fairly simple, it's fairly straightforward. It is simply who specifically. So people annoy me. Who is it who's been annoying you? People keep telling me that I really ought to go out and get a job. Who is it who tells you you ought to go and get a job? And what you're asking the person to do here, again, is to go back to their experience and to fill in the details with you. Again, you need to be quite careful how you do this, because you could do this in a really pushy, really arrogant way that would effectively put the person off. But it's also quite helpful to ask for these details about who specifically is it that's doing these things to you. So we'll just deal with those, the first two parts of the meta model that we've dealt with, which is when somebody is using verbs that are so vague that actually you don't know what they did or what the other person did. So you can't actually get a clear view on that. And there are a lot of these here where we talk about, when people talk about arguing, we had an argument, we argued. Again, what does that mean? Fight, what does a fight mean? A fight can mean a verbal fight, it can mean a physical fight. So you need to actually ask for the details, specifically what happened. And then secondly, about the nouns, about who specifically or what specifically was it that went on. And although, you can get caught up onto the, telling your nouns from your verbs, I'm asking you to keep this quite simple and just ask for the details. Notice when you're unable to be sure, to be confident that you have understood what another person is saying, and be willing, gently but persistently, to ask for the information that you need to fully understand the other person. So we've dealt with the first two parts of the meta model, and we'll now just pick up one or two other bits that might be helpful.